Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina wa habibina wa syafi'ina wa nuri qulubina wa qurrati a'yunina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Nawa'na ta'aluma wa ta'alim wa tadhakkura wa tazkir wa nafa' wa intifa' wa ifada wa istifada. والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني ومشرب صافي الهم وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني ومشرب صافي الهم يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علما لدني ومشرب صافي الهم يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم إنا نستودعك ما قرأناه وما نقرأه في هذا المجلس وما قبله وما بعده فاحفظه علينا حتى ترده إلينا وقت احتياجنا إليه يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أغننا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم اللهم آتنا من لدنك رحمة وعلمنا من لدنك علما. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم أكرمنا من نور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا حكمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم يا من مقاليد الأمور كلها بيده وإليه يرجع الأمر كله. يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم يا فتاح يا عليم افتح علينا فتحا قريبا. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي وسدد لساني واهدي قلبي وافعل كذلك بأحبابي أبدا. وارزقنا كمال فتوح العارفين والفقه في الدين مع كمال الإخلاص والصدق واليقين والعافية والغنى والنصر والحفظ والنفع والانتفاع وخيرات الدارين وعلوم الأولين والآخرين. آمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين 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 يا رب العالمين. الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله الحمد لله. I have continued our classes. Alhamdulillah. I'm still trying to figure out what is what is going on with the internet. Like whenever I on my internet, whenever I try to connect at 4 a.m. because it is now it's 4 a.m. in the morning. So when I try and connect at 4 a.m. in the morning, previously like there will always be this this like I'm unable to connect no matter how many times I try. Then like finally at 4:20 they will connect, or 4:15 right around there. So today, okay, I told myself today I will connect at 3 o'clock. Okay, 3 a.m. in the morning I want to connect. And then so I'll spend the 20 minutes connecting at 3 a.m. lah. I thought so. So 3 a.m. in the morning, I connected, and it connected immediately. Interesting. So it immediately connected at 3 a.m. in the morning. So okay, good lah. And then at 4 a.m. exactly, it disconnected. So I think they do a system maintenance exactly at 4 a.m. every single day. I think so, and I think so. I'm hitting the system maintenance at 4 a.m. in the morning. So I think they take 20 minutes in their maintenance or whatsoever that they do. I'm not so sure what they do because they keep saying that you are already authorized, but it's not connected. I don't know lah. Yeah. So anyway, after there's this yeah. So that's why I'm like now I'm thinking, should we move the class to another timing? Because every single day for 20 minutes I am unable to connect. And the exact same 20 minutes. So I think there's a system maintenance going on every single day. So at 3 a.m. there was no problem. Actually, it is better for me to teach at 3 a.m. But I don't want to weigh on the people in Singapore because 3 a.m. is 8 a.m. right in Singapore. So I don't know if that's like not like that's hard on people 8 a.m. Like you have to send your kids to school, you have to like cook, you have to like do all kinds of things. Okay. I don't know, and then 9 a.m. like you kind of settle, is it? This is what I think lah. So, but actually 8 a.m. is better for me. If it is 8 a.m. for you guys and 3 a.m. for me. And then at 4 a.m. if they want to do their maintenance, system maintenance, they can do all they want. You know, like thinking that I'm like thinking, should I move the timing get up? But this is what it is lah. That's why every day I'm late. Because every day I'm not late, but every day the internet refuses to connect for about 20 minutes. It will refuse to connect. I wonder if I begin at 3 a.m. or 3:30, then I go through 4 a.m. Will they just like continue my connection? I just don't know. Okay, I don't know whether I should try something else or try a different timing. Or 5 a.m. 5 a.m. is right at my subuh timing. Kan? 5 a.m. is exactly my subuh timing. So it's like it will be very, very disruptive for me lah. I have to pray. Kan? Yeah lah, see lah. So see how lah. I think hi, or maybe you do it 4:30. Kalau 4:30, I still have to get my subuh lah. Right. So maybe I take a break at 5, then I pray, then I come back until 5:30. Okay lah. I will see. I will decide after istikharah, we all istikharah, see what to do. But now I'm getting more and more convinced that the 4 a.m. timing, they are doing something with the internet. And I'm not sure what they're doing with the internet. But it happens at 4 a.m. every single morning. MashaAllah. Okay, let's continue our class, right? So I just heads up lah that I might have to change timing again. To see like what's the best timing right now. Allah, ya Allah, ya Rabbi. Okay, tamam. Okay, tamam. Now, because we will continue Surah Baqarah. And okay, I'll just say now that high chances, I think to make it easy on people in Singapore. I think 8 a.m. is hard on people because you all have to go to sending your kids to school and cooking and whatever, right? And cleaning up the house, I don't know, household. I think 8 a.m. is a bit too rush, kan? I think so. So I think yeah, okay, I think you can say safely. You can safely say by 4:30. It means it will be 9:30 Singapore. 9:30 a.m. By that time, we should start our class already lah. Then I will just take a subuh break and then I'll come back. Inshallah. And that's better lah. Okay. So we just got to continue. Bismillah. So in Surah Baqarah, right? So we're still in the introduction of Surah Baqarah. Right? And last week I entered into just like a brief go through of the entire surah and how the surah is structured. Now, that when we go into the name of the surah, right? There is so we know that how surahs are named, right? They're either by the words of the Prophet or the companions would just name the surah. Right? And usually it is named in a very practical manner, right? So either by the first word that appears in the surah, if it's unique, right? The first word is unique, it will be named by the first word, or if there is a unique mention in the surah, it is named after the unique mention, right? Be it a story or a parable, you know, that it will be named in that way, right? But if you go deeper into it, you would see that it's always, of course, all of this is under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's divine decree that Allah has caused for the companions of the Prophet ﷺ to name the surahs in this way. Right? So we don't say that they are like, coincidental, right? Or you don't say that they are without deeper meaning. You don't say that, right? But there is a deeper meaning behind it. And here, the Shaykh presents a deeper meaning, right, behind the surah being named Surah Al-Baqarah, right? Because when you look at the story of Al-Baqarah, and it is of the many stories that happen in Surah Al-Baqarah, and of the many stories that happen in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, of the many stories that happen in Surah Al-Baqarah, that this particular story is highlighted, right, in a sense that the surah is named after this particular story, right, in Surah Al-Baqarah. Right? So basically, the story goes that there was a murder. I will tell the story right now. Like, it's on, like, when we get to the step out of the Surah Baqarah, I'll tell the story again. But yeah, basically, it was a murder, right, amongst the Bani Israel. Right? It was actually a nephew who murdered his uncle, because the nephew wanted the inheritance, right, from the uncle. And mashallah, in Islam, it's a law in Islamic inheritance that if a person were to die because of being murdered, right? This is a law in inheritance, but along the lines of, if someone died because of being murdered, right, nobody inherits from that person. Nobody. So even if you're not responsible for the murder, right, no one inherits from that person. Why? Right? It is to prevent, right, the possibility of people murdering someone else, to inherit from that person, right? Because as you say, but why it wasn't me? But how could people tell, right? Because it could be that someone hired someone else, so it could be a family member hired someone else and got this other person to murder their family member, and then maybe it couldn't be traced that who was behind the entire plot, the entire plan, of murdering so and so. As there is a rule, in inheritance laws, that someone who's murdered is not inherited, right? Meaning that there's no inheritance for the one who is murdered, but rather the money goes to, I think, Baitul Mal. If I'm not wrong, I know that there is this qaida, like this principle in inheritance, and this basically prevents this kind of thoughts. That if I murder this person, then I get to inherit from him. So it's to prevent that. So if someone dies out of being murdered, then khalas, when they die out of being murdered, then there's no inheritance. And so to prevent this kind of behavior of people killing people just to get their money. So yeah, basically, but basically it happened in Israel, right? Somebody was murdered, right? And then and it was actually the nephew who murdered his uncle, right? Because he wanted the inheritance. So the Bani Israel found this man dead, right, and murdered, right, basically. And so they go to Nabi Allah Musa, right, and they go to Nabi Musa alayhi salam, and they say to him, ask Allah, right, who is the murderer of this person? I ask Allah. And anyway, the Bani Israel they're not exactly the most polite people, right? They're very rude, right, to Nabi Musa alayhi salam. You can see the way they speak, very arrogant, obnoxious. They're very, they're very boastful. They're very, like, in that way, like, very unrefined. It's very rude to Nabi Musa alayhi salam. I said Nabi Musa is one of the ulul azm because he is sabah. His patience with his people is phenomenal. Like, really, like, you would have enough of these people, because of their behavior towards their own prophet. Subhanallah. Like in Surah Baqarah, will come to a verse, right, whereby they say directly to Nabi Musa alayhi salam, where they say, we will never believe in Allah until we see Allah clearly in front of us. So they think that they are like, so special. You can see Allah in front of themselves. But basically, I mean, they're like that, like that. And then when Allah sent food from paradise to them, they were given food from paradise, right? And then they say, we will not, be patient on this food, but we want other food. Right? We don't want this food. We want other food that grows from the ground, like onions and garlic and lentils and whatever. Like see this kind of behavior, like so. I think if it was me, I'd be so annoyed with them. I'd be like, you're, just stay away from me. You're so negative. Mashallah. Yeah, mashallah, like Musa alayhi salam, really, he bore these people. He was so patient with these people. And they kept blaming him. Every single thing that happened, they would blame Nabi Musa alayhi salam. And no matter how many times Nabi Musa had helped them, they kept blaming Nabi Musa alayhi salam. MashaAllah. And inshallah in Surah Baqarah you will see that several instances, of them. When Nabi Musa brings them when Allah commands for them to enter the town, in Palestine, and then there were people in the town and they will say to Nabi Musa, "Oh Musa, you and your God, you all go first in there and kill off the people. When you're done, and we're gonna sit here. We will just sit here. When you're done, come and tell us to come inside." Right? So it's kind of thing like so upset with them. Mashallah. So anyway, they went to Nabi Musa alayhi salam and they said, "Oh Musa, ask Allah who's the murderer." Right? So as if you think that you're here to command Allah on what you want, right? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Right, so ask Allah who's the murderer. So Nabi Musa, he speaks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he says, "Ya Allah, the Bani Israel want to know who's the murderer of that guy, someone who passed away, someone who was murdered." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds and says, right, that, "O Musa, tell them to slaughter a cow." And then so Nabi Musa said, we hear and we obey. Right? So he goes to this, he goes to the people and he says to them, Allah says slaughter a cow. So basically, that you can see right now, between their question and what Allah had commanded, there seems to be absolutely no connection. Right? Like, why are you asking about a murdered person? You tell us to go into the cow. Right? Like in a sense, like there seems to be no connection. And that's the problem with the human being. The problem with the human being is that they depend on means. And for them, if you don't see the connection between their ultimate goal, and the means that they have been told to take, right, by Allah, by the Creator Himself, or the Prophet ﷺ on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they don't see the connection, right, between the means and their ends, right, they become arrogant. Right? Why? Because they are dependent on the means. And they don't believe who's the doer of everything. There's a weakness in their iman, in their belief. Okay. Right? There's a weakness in their iman. Right? So this is the problem now of human beings. This is the issue. So anyway, so when Nabi Musa says, and it is something, this is actually, inshallah, when we get there, I'll do a reflection on it now. I just need to just tell the story now without doing any reflections. But basically, there's a lot of things to be said, about these points whereby when Allah says, what to do, and it seems to have no connection, right? The answer is sami'na wa ta'na, we hear and we obey. Right? So you don't say like, what's the connection? And how is this to do with the dead person? It's not on you to figure out. It's not on you. It's not on you to say. It's not on you to say what's the connection. Or to ask or to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what's the connection. Right? But it's just on you to do, right? It's on you to do. So anyway, they became arrogant, and then they said to Nabi Musa, right? The response, their response. That right? So basically, they said, are you taking us as fools? Are you making fun of us? Are you mocking us? Right? So that was their response. Right? The response to Nabi Musa alayhi salam, who is a prophet, who does not go around mocking people, who does not go around making fun of people, who is a serious human being. And their response to Nabi Musa was, "You take us as fools? Right? You take us as mockery?" Right? That was their response. Very rude, very rude. And then Nabi Musa said, I seek protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, from being amongst the ignorant. Right? So, okay, all the tafsir is really mashallah. You analyze the words of Nabi Musa, and he identified that the one who questions the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they question, right, the link between what they are doing and between what Allah has commanded, right? These are ignorant people, right? So they're ignorant with regards to the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? They're ignorant on this. And there's a full commentary, on this. Because a lot of in our time right now, everyone, almost everyone has fallen into this of complete reliance on the means. And that is so so against our aqidah. So it's wrong. I mentioned that it's outright wrong to have reliance on the means. To have reliance on the means. It is impermissible, impermissible in Islam, haram, right, to rely on material means to a particular end. Right? You take the means, yes, but you cannot rely on the means. You cannot rely on the means for a moment. Because to rely on the means is to attribute power to the means, or the means are the things that is doing things, it's curing you or whatsoever. That is haram, outright haram. And the only one that you depend on is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That if you take medication, you can't say, oh, this medication cured me. You cannot say that, right? But you can say, I took this medication and Allah cured me, and that is correct, right? But you cannot say, that this cured me. No. Nothing in the creation cures you, and nothing in the creation does anything for you. Right? The Creator does everything for you. It's a big problem in mentality. And people say, put in effort, then rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, that's wrong. Right? The reliance is 24/7. Reliance never stops on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Put in effort as a form of worship. Yeah. But never rely on your efforts. Ever. You're not even allowed to. Right? It's haram. So anyway, this is what he did now. So the question of Musa says, oh, I see Allah's protection from being amongst the ignorant. And then Allah Muhammad. And then they say, Allah. Right. So then Nabi Musa says, just do what you're told. Right. Right. Do what you're told. Do what you're told. Stop asking all questions. Right. From the very beginning, from the very onset. Right. No. So Musa says, I seek protection from being amongst the arrogant, from the ignorant, from the ignorant. Then they ask the question, oh Musa, tell us what kind of cow it is. What's with this cow? What kind of cow do you want? Right. And then so ask Allah what kind of cow is this? So now Musa, now he's getting, he knows they're fooling around. They're stubborn, they're arrogant. And then the arrogance leads them to more problems. Right? So the question, Nabi Musa. And then Nabi Musa said, Allah says that this cow is not too old, not too young. And then Nabi Musa says, so do as you're told. And stop asking questions. Do as you're told. Alas. And then so then they say to Nabi Musa alayhi salam, oh Musa, what's the color of the cow? So many questions. What's the color of the cow? Allah says, so the cow is go and find a cow and go and kill that cow. Right? Don't get that cow. You don't have to, you don't have to go and, like bother Nabi Musa about all the details of the cow. Right? They don't ask you in a specific cow. Right? They always ask for a cow. Right? Any cow. Right? So they ask for the color. And then Nabi Musa asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah says, okay, fine, you want the color, right? Okay, yellow, right? Bright yellow cow that stuns anyone who looks at it. Right? Bright yellow cow. Then they had one more question. Right? Not enough. There's one more question. Oh Musa, all the cows are the same. You gotta be more specific. And like bright yellow is not specific enough. Eh? Okay, so you need more specific. What cow do you want? And then Allah says, it's a cow that has never done any work. Right? So middle-aged cow, bright yellow, never done any work. I never plowed the land and never carried water, and not a blemish on the skin of this cow. The cow is a perfect cow. So they had to go and search for this cow. Right? And just and all of this will have principles, right, that's being derived from the stories in the Baqarah. Right. So then so then what happens is that so they go and search for this cow. So the story goes there was an orphan boy that lived in the town, and this boy, when his father was alive, his father actually owned a calf, a baby cow, the young of a cow, a calf. And this calf was bright yellow and shine and bright yellow. Lah. So when the father was passed away, he told the mother, let this calf roam in the jungles. Right? And then when my son reaches of age, inform him about this calf, and this calf will be his inheritance. Right? So then this calf had the full conditions. He was still aged, he never did any work. He had no blemishes, I think, whatsoever. Right. So this boy, when he reaches of age, his mother says to him, your father's inheritance for you is in the jungles. Just go there and call out to it, it will come to you. Right. So the boy goes, he calls out for the cow, and the cow comes. Right. And on his way back, to his home, the Bani Israel sees this boy walking with a bright yellow cow. Right. You can miss it, like it's a bright yellow cow. Right. So they said to him, we need to slaughter your cow. Then he said, but it's my cow. And then they said, no, we'll buy it from you. Then he said, okay, I will ask my mother how much is the cow, right, for sale. Right. And then so when they asked the mother said, the price of the cow is that after you have killed the cow, get the skin of the cow and fill it up with gold. Right? Fill it up with gold. And that's what they did, right? And that was the price of the cow. And there was a price of arrogance and stubbornness and questioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Allah's instruction. Right? Because Surah Baqarah has a lot of instructions. It is not on a human being to question the creator, right, in what the creator has commanded. So there was like a response in there. So anyway, so we're going to go through like the wisdom, right, behind the story, right? But I have to prepare sahur. Let's see. Then now then I have to pray. So the timing is now it's now getting very inconvenient timing. Oh well. But if I do it after this timing, then I will miss Habib's lesson. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. How about we take a break? Okay. Okay. Take a break. 5 minutes break. No. Okay. How about the break until I pray subuh? So I think 5:10 I'll pray subuh. Yeah. Because I don't want to end the class here. I want to continue it. Okay, 5:10. 5:10, 5:15, right? Take a break. So then I'll figure out the timing lah. I'll think about this timing. Okay, but I'll leave the Zoom on. I'm so scared now the thing cuts off again. Okay lah. Okay, so I'll come back at 5:15 or 5:10. 5:10. Try to pray. Okay, barakallahu fikum. We'll take a short break, inshallah. We'll continue, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Uh, Alhamdulillah. Right, so inshallah, so to the story just now I was speaking about, that, now, with regards to the Baqarah, Surah the Baqarah. Right, so the Shaykh comments on the on the surah being named after the story, and he says that so the name of this of the surah, right, and what you can in a sense take from it, because Surah Baqarah begins the entire Quran. Of course, Surah Fatiha is the surah, then there's Surah Baqarah, and Quran is basically a book of guidance, the book of guidance, a book of reminder, and also a book of law that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down. Right, so so with this surah being named after the story that I just mentioned in Surah of the Baqarah, what can we gain from this? It is that in this story, right, there is a foundational principle. I have a foundational principle in this religion, which is first and foremost belief in prophethood. I believe in prophethood. Right? So, and there is a foundation in this religion, right? Because in mashallah, whenever I speak to people who are interested in Islam, those who are non-converts, and even children, because they're all under the same category, or people who are new to the religion, that we speak a lot about the entire concept of prophets. Like there is core to our religion, right? Because we know that there are these human beings who are sent, right? And then these human beings, they are our link to our Creator, right? So they inform us of what the Creator says, what the Creator wants, and why the Creator has created us here on this earth, and what is our goal, what is our duty, right, on this earth. Right, so it is a foundational principle in our religion, the entire iman bil ba'th, right, the entire belief in revelation, right, of prophets, and so if someone that's the first thing, the entire belief in revelation, right, and then right in this story also, right, comes the entire belief in resurrection. So first is revelation, and because Nabi Musa alayhi salam, was sent to them, and Nabi Musa was informing them of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed them. Right. So then you have the meaning in the story. Okay, I didn't finish the story just now. So basically they saw this boy and they bought the cow. The story does not end there. Right. So when they bought the cow, then Allah gives the instruction to slaughter the cow, and they paid for the cow. The basically the skin of the cow filled with gold. Right, that was the price of the cow. Right, so when they killed the cow, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded them in the Quran, right, to strike the dead body with the tail of the cow. Right, so take the tail of the cow and strike the dead body, and the dead body came back to life. Right, so when the dead body came back to life, the dead body or the dead person, he informed them who was his murderer, right? So and that is by Allah's power, Allah's power in doing that. And of course, then in front of them, they just witnessed resurrection. So this and it's also core in our religion. Right? There is a foundational principle in our religion, the entire belief in resurrection. Right? So we know that this life is a very short period, right, in our existence, the extremely short period in our existence, whereby we will die and we will go into a different realm. Right? So as believers, Muslims, we see death as intiqal. In Arabic, they will say al-maut, wa-maut, wa-ma huwa al-maut illa al-intiqal. Right? So which is basically that death, it is simply transition. That's what death is about. Right? Death is not the someone's existence, stopping, right? The ceasing of someone's existence. No, but it is the transition of someone's existence from a realm to another realm. Right? So this is also core in our religion, and we believe that strongly. And that it's just that we will go from realm to realm. We were from a different realm before this, the realm of the souls, right, where Allah created all of our souls, right? Then we came to the realm of the physical world, into our physical bodies. Right? And when we die, we will go into the realm of the barzakh, which is an intermediary realm between this world and the hereafter, right? And then the story, mashallah, of Nabi Isa alayhi, because Nabi Isa, he was known to be able to bring the dead back to life by Allah's permission, by Allah's decree and power and permission. Right, so there was this time when they asked Nabi Isa to bring, a particular individual back to life, right? And so Nabi Isa brought this individual back to life. And so when this individual came out of his grave, and mashallah, it's a very, that you see, it's one of the stories that will strike in your heart, hope, like fear. So Nabi Isa brings this person back to life, right? By Allah's permission, Allah's power, right? So the guy comes out from his grave, and then he was like, is it the day of judgment? Is it the day of judgment? Is it time? Right? And Nabi Isa says, no, it's not a day of judgment, but I am, Isa, the son of Maryam, and I have, asked Allah to bring you back to life. Then he said, why? the guy in the grave, the guy who came back to life, he said, why did you bring me back to life? Then he said, because the people asked, for a proof, right? And to ask you some questions about, about what's going on in the grave for you. So Nabi Isa asked this guy, how long have you been in the barzakh? And how long have you been in the graves? In the world of the graves? The guy says, for 70 years. He died 70 years ago. So then Nabi Isa said, so how are you in the grave? And he said, the good deeds that I have done, I see the reward of the good deeds that I have done. But there is a punishment that I'm being afflicted by. And I'm being punished by something. And then I asked the guy, what was it that they are being punished by? And he said, well, there was one time, I work as like someone who does odd jobs. I carry for people's stuff, I do for people's stuff, odd job man. So there was one time I was carrying someone's, like stick of wood. As part of my job, I was carrying it. Right? And as I came close to this house, I put the wood down. And then I felt something between my teeth. So I reached to the wood and I broke off a small, like a splinter, like a small section of the wood. I broke it off, right? And then I began to use it like a toothpick, right, to remove what I felt between my teeth, right? So I used that splinter, a small piece of wood, right, I broke off. That was not his, that belongs to the one that he was working for, right? He was doing jobs for people. So I broke off a small piece of wood and I used it to clean my teeth, right? Then I just chucked it, I threw it to the side, right? And I didn't think about it. I didn't think anything about it. And now in my grief, I'm being punished for that, for taking the rights of others, right? Oh, subhanallah. Mr. Heston, like to that extent, you cannot transgress on someone else's rights. It's theirs, subhanallah. So he said that, and I can, the punishment will only stop, right, if the owner of that wood, whoever it was, the owner of that wood forgives me. But the owner would even know that the guy transgressed on him. Which is why it is important for us before we sleep night to forgive everybody around us. Because especially those who have passed away. Because you don't know who's being punished on our account. And if someone does it regularly, then inshallah, when they pass away, they go to the graves, and Allah will have the people around them do the same for them, to forgive them. So he says, so this guy says, that the punishment will continue until this guy forgives me or he dies, because the guy is still alive, right? So, or he dies, and then the punishment will stop, right? So Nabi Isa said that he will go and look for the guy and ask the guy to forgive this person, and he went back to his grave. Right, so anyway, like this, I mentioned the story, but because of how when this guy came up from his grave, the first question that he said was, "Is it time? Right? Is it the day of judgment? Has it come?" And then, of course, we know that you go from realm to realm. So when you go into the realm of the barzakh, right, of the graves, right, and then from the graves, then there's a realm of the day of judgment. And however long the day of judgment will take, however long right, it will take, and then you go into the realm of after the day of judgment, the realm of paradise forever or hellfire forever. Of course, there will be of people who will spend some time in the hellfire, and then they will be brought into paradise. There will be those of those people. Allahu A'lam. Right. So in the at the basis of the story, right, you have a prophethood, a revelation, right, and then you have resurrection, right? Because this man was brought back to life. The man in the story, and he was brought back to life. Right. So whoever does not believe in the day of judgment, the next world, right? That is our real life. As Allah said in the Quran, that the next world, that is your real life. Right? Here is a test, simply a test. And that whoever does not believe in the hereafter, and does not believe in the resurrection, and does not believe in the accounting, the hisab, and does not believe in the accounting, that all of your deeds, every single tiny bit of your deeds will be questioned in the day of judgment. Like you see the story of the guy, Nabi Isa, right? And it was a tiny splinter. It was a small, that you see, it's so small, the wood, right? And he didn't even give it any thought at all, at all. No thought whatsoever to what he did. But at the end of the day, you see, it's not his. The wood is not his, right? So it's not for you to say, it's so small. It's just so small. In that way, you need to ask permission, right? Or if you had taken from someone, you need to go and seek forgiveness. You say, sorry, just now I took this from your, or I use your pen, I use your pencil, I didn't ask your permission. I please, in our culture we'll say halal kan, I make it halal for me, like make it okay for me to do it. And most people have no problem saying, yeah, it's okay, not a big deal, right? And it is the law lah. So you have to actually ask for permission on everything. Subhanallah. Right. So even like when I was like when you go to the masjid, sometimes you go to the masjid, and you know what it is in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whereby he says sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whosoever takes wudu at home and then they walk to the masjid for Jum'ah, for any other prayer, right? And then they pray there, right? And they will be forgiven all of their sins. And the scholars actually comment on why was there this commentary on taking wudu at home? Why did Prophet say that? And the answer is because taking wudu at home is closer to righteousness because you are paying for the water that you use in your home. Right? So while the masjid provides water, yes, right, you don't have a right to wasted water. So there's a possibility that when you take wudu at the masjid, there's a possibility of you wasting the water at the masjid. Right? Possibility. Okay? So this is why the hadith goes take wudu at home. If you can lah, if you can, not you can't take at the masjid if you want, right? But it's just that it's closer to righteousness, right? To actually do your wudu at home, right? And then because you're paying for it, right? And then when you go to the masjid, you don't take up from the masjid, right? And there is an example of Rasulullah whereby even the water they are particular, like where are you getting this water from? Are you paying for it? Right? So for me personally, right? With regards to using the electricity of the masjid, right? Because I know of people, they will go to the masjid and they will charge their phone, they will charge their laptop, they will charge. Like, do we have the permission to do that? I do wonder, I do wonder. Do we actually have permission to charge our devices at the masjid? If you wonder, right? And if you want to be that, in a sense, scrupulous, like the wara, because the sea is not paid by you, right? The masjid pays for their own bills, right? So if you feel, okay, you know what, you want to use this in the masjid, there's a PowerPoint and your phone is dying and you want to charge it, then put some money into the tabung, into the box. Right? So at least okay lah, you contributed, to the maintenance of the masjid. For example. Right? I will say that it will be on the side of righteousness and on wara, right? So that you pay for what you use. So you don't take from masjid what is not for you to take from the masjid. For example, all people's houses, something like that. And that you ask permission. You ask for permission from people, even though you know confirm they will say yes. There's no problem. Go ahead, go ahead. No, but at least you ask for that permission. Like, can I just charge my phone, or can I do this? Can I have can I connect to your Wi-Fi? Can I this? Can I that? Like, if you really need it lah. Of course, of course asking for the Wi-Fi and everything is quite bad adab lah. But if you really need it, right, for some reason whatsoever, then so all under wara, so under wara, right? So because we believe in the hisab, right? We believe in account, right? So there is every as well as misqal dharratin sharra yarah, khair shar, every tiny bit of good and evil you will see on the day of judgment. Allah, Allah. Now, right, so whosoever does not believe in the hereafter, nor in the resurrection, nor in the accounting, then they can do whatever they want in this dunya, right? Up to them, right? And then eventually they will be punished, right? So for example, so that's the thing, and that's why it's core in our religion, because and that's why this belief is the worst thing for a human being to go into, because it gives basically it kind of there's no control of a human being, and there's no fear of a day they have to stand and answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And you mentioned this before in the previous series, that the belief in the hereafter, right? It stops people who are naturally inclined towards evil. Because there are people who are more prone towards evil. There are. And it's all in the nature of human beings. There are people who are more prone towards goodness, and there are people who are more prone towards evil, right? And it could be the nature of human beings. It could be the nurturing that they received when they were growing up. It could be many, many factors as to why they are the way they are, right? But the belief in the hereafter, and the belief in the day of judgment, and hisab and accounting and and so on, right? It makes human beings who are inclined towards shar, inclined towards evil, stop their evil, right? So because they're afraid of a day they have to answer, right, for the thing that they do. They're afraid of it. And it brings beings who are inclined towards goodness into an excellence, a form of excellence in their goodness, because they believe there's going to be a day, right, that they will be held to account, right? And they want the best on that day, right? So you see how the belief in a hereafter makes society a better society, because it stops the people of evil from their evil, and it makes the people of good excel in their goodness, mashallah. And that is why the principle of doing something for the sake of God, right? Doing something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of God, is higher in morality than doing something for the sake of goodness. It's actually higher in morality. To do something for the sake of God is higher than doing something for the sake of goodness. Right? But why? Right? Because goodness has a limit. But to do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can really soar as high as possible. Like the tiniest bit of good you will do. Subhanallah, to allow an ant to drink water, to allow a fly to drink water, to the highest level of goodness. Right? And also that if you do things for the sake of goodness, then who's defining goodness? Right? Who's the authority to define what is goodness? But when you do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of God, then God is the one who defines. He defines goodness. And He is the all-knowing, so He knows ultimately what is goodness. MashaAllah. So it is a higher level of morality. MashaAllah. And the Prophet all on that. Okay, tamam. Yeah, right, Tamam. Right? So he says here because, right? Because for as long as people do not believe in a resurrection, right? If you don't believe it is that there's resurrection, then this dunya becomes meaningless, which basically many people have come to realize. People who disbelieve in God, they come to a point whereby they see there's meaning that life is meaningless, and that's true. That if you don't have to believe in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in the hereafter and next world, it is meaningless. It comes to a point people feel that it is meaningless. Especially when they begin to lose, the things that they live for. So if someone lives for family, live for children, they live for job, they live for luxury, they live for this, they live for that. Like either they lose these things or they lose interest in these things. Then the dunya really, becomes in the dunya haqir. The haqira, it is despised. Right? So they'll see that the meaningless of the entire thing. And that is obvious. Right? So if we that right now, if you imagine that if we don't have a belief in the hereafter, every day in, day in and day out, what do? You do your own stuff, right? You come to a point whereby you just like, it's just meaningless. You know what? We live and we die, and that's it. Then what's like all that you've loved, all that you've done, all that it just ends there with someone's death. Doesn't make sense, can? And all of this is just to what? To just go to the ground. Doesn't make sense. See what is meaning? Right? Because and it's why the foundation of ibadah, right? The foundation of worship, the foundation of service to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. It is based on our true life that will be in the hereafter, right? And that indeed this world, it is just an abode of tests and also an abode of delusion. Right? As for the akhirah, it is an abode of na'im al-muqim, right? Of eternal blessings in the akhirah. So in the dunya, right? So in the dunya, even if there are blessings in the dunya, so either we will be separated from these blessings, or the blessings will be separated from us, and the separation happens by death. Right? So even those that you love so much in this dunya, if it comes to the point that that you will be separated from what you love in this dunya, then you will be separated. Right? And that will happen by death. Right? And it is or it will be removed from you. Right? So why this dunya, it is not, there is no permanence in this dunya, and that also pushes you to understand that this dunya is a tool, right, to use to get to the hereafter. It is basically that what the Shaykh has pulled out on the principles of the story of the Baqarah. The principle of the Baqarah, like in the belief in a prophet, and the prophets are sent, and they bring commandment from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and the belief in and the belief in the resurrection, right? That they can be brought back to life, and people have to be accountable for all that they. Now, right. So Alhamdulillah, right? So we're gonna go into this entire story of the Baqarah. I point to that. Right. Also, in the principles of Surah Baqarah, of the story of the Baqarah, right, is that we the very clear principle of we hear and we obey. Right. So if you hear something from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, any commandment, right, the first thing, right, that you should say in response to what you hear from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is we hear and we obey. Right. So it was their problem that they kept questioning Nabi Musa alayhi salam. And this story is mentioned in this part of the Quran. And you see that the Quran, right, is not, like a storybook whereby you go from beginning to end, right? But the stories are mentioned, right, in strategic positions in the Quran, to illustrate a point, and to those who are reciting or reading the Quran. Right? So this story is that when Allah Subhanahu wa Taala wants to introduce to the human being, right? Because this story comes at a point, right, whereby there's going to be laws coming in. And Allah will be mentioning laws, right? So Allah Subhanahu wa Taala story, right, is teaching us the adab, right, or the etiquette of how do you come to this laws, right? right? So this is why, of the adab or the etiquette, right, is first and foremost, you don't demand from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So as human beings, we make our du'as, yes, right? But you must understand who is slave and who is Lord. Right? You are slave, Allah is Lord. Right? So if you understand this, then you will understand where dua stands in your life. Like dua is a favor of your creator onto you. It is not, it is not a right that you have over Allah. You have no right over Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's a favor. It's a favor. If Allah wants to answer your dua, He very well can do so. If He wants to not answer your dua, He can very well do so. Right? It's up to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and nobody can blame Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing is adapt with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not demand from Him. And secondly, Allah says something, do it lah. Don't ask any questions, on that. And thirdly, whatever you do, don't think that it can't be exposed. Because Allah exposed who was the murderer. When the murderer was convinced that he could get away with his crime, then nobody saw what happened. Allah could bring the dead back to life and inform people. And in fact, in many ways, people can be exposed. You never think that in doing a sin that you can be that you can escape from the sin. Right? So mashallah. Alhamdulillah. Um, okay, inshallah, it was today for today. So next week I will go into the first part of the story. So I think it's all commentary on the story. Okay, tamam. Okay, barakallahu fikum. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Alhamdulillah. الفاتحة إن الله يجزينا ودل على الهدى والإسلام والنبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإلى الرحيم وعن علمنا مشايخنا وانزل بالحق علينا وإلى حضرة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.